Good afternoon, parents. This is Institute Day, and you may wonder, what does that look like when we close and we concentrate on the academics, the structure, moving forward. But this is an unusual day. Our 7th and 8th grade teachers are actually at the Tinley Park Holiday Convention Center. There is an institute for 7th through 12th grade teachers, over 2,000 of them. And then here in-house, we're doing staff development for pre-K through 6. So this is something new that we're trying. And I do feel that both of them, even though very different in terms of structure, are going to accomplish what we want to accomplish, and that is simply strengthening our academic program. But when you think about it, you know, we're 2/3 through the semester. It's amazing. I thought the other day, before I realized that I will be at the Tinley Park Convention Center, and this year a little different. We're returning to our old normal. You know that we have always graduated all our 8th graders together. Both the Huth and the Illinois have stood together. It's a large group of students, and we're generally 2,000 strong at the Tinley Park Convention Center. I think I partially lost my mind in 2019, and I decided that, first of all, we went to person by person, individual graduations, and we gave diplomas in the height of the pandemic. And then the next year, I did 32 individual graduations. I don't know that I will ever do that again. But I'm happy to inform you that this year, the family will be together, all of our 8th graders at the Tinley Park Convention Center, not on May 31st, but on June 1st. June 1st, don't forget that. Not that we won't send reminders, but I think the most important thing is the family will be together. We will be able to celebrate the transition of our 8th graders into high school. So I'll make a note of that date, June 1st. Actually, I'm going to give you a lot of information today for your advanced planning. I know that this year, unlike the last 2 or 3 years, you might be thinking about traveling or doing a vacation, but you need to know what our plans are. But before I begin on that, I do want to tell you that we had a very, very excellent parent university on March 30th. Perhaps we're hungry for information. Perhaps we just need to come together. But I do think that the discussion, particularly in the field of social media, technology, was certainly something that we needed to have. And perhaps as the planning committee moves forward, they will think of technology in a different way. I kind of think that we did baseline technology. Some of you heard some things that perhaps you'd never heard before. But the next step needs to be a different level of sophistication. So I'm looking forward to Mr. Evans and his team, along with parent university staff, planning something for the summer, because I do think technology is constantly changing and we have to change along with it. But what was significant for me also, I went to a workshop, and I won't mention his name publicly until I know that he's willing to become a part of our family. But a man gave an excellent presentation on parent, community, teacher relationships. You might have attended that workshop. But I think his message is one that our children as a whole and our staff as a whole needs to hear. So I will share more with you after I meet with him and find out if he's willing to become a part of the 162 family. But we're planning now for our next workshop, social emotional issues. We sense a certain tenseness. We probably sense it most primarily in our world as a whole. Things have changed. People are, to me, are not as patient. We're not as tolerant. And some people have a certain tension and nervousness as we have come out of the pandemic. And so we're going to take a look Once again, everyone will come together, teachers, parents, and others, about what are the support mechanisms we can put in place to make sure that we're letting our children know it's okay to be a little insecure. It's okay if you think about what the world is like. That doesn't mean that anything tragic is going to happen. It doesn't mean that you're not stable. But all of us in life encounter impediments. We all have problems. But perhaps we need to spend some time as adults in interacting with each other, and then we can go back and give this information and train our children just how to deal with the bumps in the road. Do you ever think about a life where there was no rain, there were no thunderstorms, nothing ever happened? Life isn't like that. It isn't like that. But as adults, we have learned how to deal with it, and we need to spend some time with our children and what they think about, and maybe just listening to them. I learn a lot every day as I listen to the teachers, administrators, and to children. I get a big kick out of them. Something happened to me in the hall during Parent University. You know that some people brought their little children with them. And I forgot that in this building, this is our district office, but it's also high school, that we don't have pictures on our doors. We just have words. But if you're 3 or 4 years old, you don't know what they mean. So a little girl was standing downstairs, and she said, "Lady?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "I don't know which door I should take." She was talking about the bathrooms. And I said, "Well, this one is meant for you." And it said women. And then she turned around and said to me, I know everyone doesn't have my sense of humor, but she said, "Are you sure?" And that just, I thought about how sweet, look at where she is at her particular point in life. And I also thought about, do we need to put some pictures on the bathroom doors? So that's one side of us. But then yesterday, one of the older young people said, "Dr. Davis, I'm 18. And I said, "How wonderful. You're 18. I'm glad for you." And he said, "Well, but what kind of rights do I have that I didn't have before when I was only 17? And I just had to smile at that because, all right, he doesn't understand necessarily, but I'm happy for them. So there's so many things that happen to me on a daily basis that put a smile on my face, and but also make me think about where our students are in their evolution. And so on April 20th, you possibly have already received something, but we will come together again just to talk about social, emotional issues, how we're dealing with it, where our own mindsets are, and where we move forward. But this year also, we're coming back up with our bands. You know, in 162, all of our schools have bands, except, of course, the Richardson Square. When we're 3 and 4 year olds, I'm not sure what we would do with the bands. But we have not done that, not live. But this year, you can look forward to coming together at Governor's State, and we'll start with our baby bands and go to our elementary, and then, of course, the Huth Band, which I think just has a magnificent sound. So we'll share with you the date, but put that on your calendar. That's coming. But we're spending a great deal of time now on the planning of summer school, and summer school will take place in 2 different levels. First of all, there's mandatory summer school, and you know what that's about. If, in fact, your child is below 1.5 on the grade point scale, they need to go to mandatory summer school. I'd like to make a suggestion, however. You know your children in a different way sometimes than we do. I'm not quite sure that just the grade point average of 1.5 defines who needs to be in mandatory summer school, defines who needs more attention in the area of math and science and English language arts. Why don't you make that decision? And you can, in coordination with your principal, you are welcome to allow your child to go into mandatory summer school. But on the other side of the house, we're back with our S.T.R.E.A.M summer school, and a lot of excitement. I talked with Dr. Cougar and others, robotics, coding, dance, choir, music, some math, some science. In other words, we're mixing together a program that I think is going to catch the imagination of all of our children, and you also. You may want to think of it as enrichment. We think of it as STREAM because it involves everything that is new. You might want to think of it as STEM because we're spending a lot of time with science and technology. But we look forward to 800 or 900 students involving themselves in just STREAM. In other words, using your imagination, learning using critical thinking skills. What about creating something new? It doesn't necessarily, we don't have all of the information, but we're going to do something else in STREAM. We're involved with an organization called the History Makers, which is an archive, as you know, of over 3,000 videos that chronicle the lives, stories of African American people going back years and years and years. And so an involvement, a natural involvement in the STREAM program would be for children to access that archive and to think about if it had not been for, let's say, Barack Obama, where would we be? If it had not been for the first lawyer, where would we be? What about, and I'm not sure that you know, I do, only because I looked it up, who the first African-American licensed attorney was in our country. I mean, there's all kinds of information. So we're going to be using that as a base to stimulate interest, but also to give knowledge, If it were not for those that came before us, where would we be? And I sit here now as superintendent of schools, and I very much enjoy this. But we went back several years ago and we began to trace who we were as a family from 162. We were a German family farming community. That's who we were. And all of the old records and minutes from board meetings were written in German. But also, when you looked at the Board of Education, women were in a mother's club. Only men sat on the Board of Education. So when I look at archives, whether it's the History Makers or whether it's things that are unique to us, I look at it as a learning experience. And what it does is serve and to tell us how we've evolved over time. If you look around, I'm looking outside now at Sauk Trail, and you see the cars passing by. What did this community look like? We were a farming community. We spoke a different language. But what about the evolution? What have we learned as we move on? And so I think that's what education is all about. But we're doing a lot. We're doing a lot with what we call the Annex. And the Annex, of course, is an old skating rink, but you'd be surprised at how it is involved and how, what it's going to be to us. You know, we're not only going to serve meals, which we are, and to all of our schools, but in year 2, we're going to be going out and seeking contracts from other districts, and it's our intent to make this venture fiscally not only possible, but what about a profit? We can do that. We think that we're strong enough to do that. But as you see this facility evolve, and we're just calling it the Annex, at some point we'll come up with a fancy name, I suppose. I'm really not a good person to do that, but we'll come up with a fancy name. There's also a room in there to do staff development. We're going to do a catering kitchen. There's a small dining room, so we don't have to go to restaurants if we want to have something for the children. But there's going to be a place in there to do registration, because, as you know, 2 years ago, we pulled registration out of the schools into the district office. So when you think of the annex, it's not all about food, it's about functionality. There's a room in there for staff development that will be high tech. And so I want to share with you some information about that.
We have what's going to be our commissary kitchen, where it'll give us the ability for luncheons, banquets, meetings, things like that. On our left is where we'll have our meeting room. It's basically about the size of the boardroom over at 4601. We should be able to do registration from there also. Over here we got one small walk-in cooler. This will be primarily for functions and things. Here we're going to have a beverage center. You'll have ice machine, coffee makers, pop, water, anything that we might need for a function. This is not quite as glamorous. We have some mechanical spaces to the right, custodial, MDF room, compressor room. This will be a loading dock, so it's on the north side of the building. So everybody, once the truck comes in, we should be able to offload an entire semi into here before it goes in. On our left is dry storage, for chips, pops, anything that doesn't require refrigeration. On our left we have walk-in freezer, walk-in cooler, employee area or office area. On our right we have break room, for everybody for lunch. Changing room. We got a couple of offices. One for in-house person, one for somebody who's coming in from outside. Employee entrance. As you come through here, this is actually the production kitchen in itself. All the way on the left is one hot line, and we got two additional hot lines. In front of us now is there'll be tables and stuff in there where they'll actually prep the food and then get it ready to ship off. This is where bulk storage for the kitchen. Skids of pop, skids of water, anything that's a bulk item. It's also going to be for if we were ever to have to enlarge the kitchen again, we can, expand into this area. As we continue forward, this will be for fine arts. All our band uniforms, choir, dance, costumes, all the things that we use, whether it's graduation, Christmas, spring concerts, all those things. We'll have racks in here so everybody can have their own space. Going forward, we will have what we're calling large item storage. We're going to have, where we can put, our stages, our choral risers, tables, chairs, all the big bulky things. It is climate controlled in here also, so we can bring paper in here, so paper won't, be an issue, where it gets humid and things. And the right-hand side, generator room. Power goes out, we'll be able to run the entire building, for however long we need to. I don't know, we can't see past the skid steer, but back in there, where everybody sees the piles of dirt right now, that's a record storage, for student records. We come through here, this area, again, it's the opposite side of the meeting room, where, we can do, whatever kind of function we want, all the different things that we do in the boardroom. Where the scaffold is will be a bathroom, there's another bathroom over there. All the way back in the back corner is a small office. If we do registration or something in here, it's a place to store, supplies for, registration. Last but not least, just to the left, a small room, it'd be a laundry, so obviously the kitchen's gonna generate a lot of, laundry, whether it's, aprons, towels, etc. But also when we do functions, tablecloths, Fine Arts has a show, they can start washing, whether it's, t-shirts, costumes, things like that. And lastly, we'll have, can't really see it, but where the pile of bricks is, we'll have two small conference rooms here. So if somebody's at registration, they'll be able to, somebody wants to have, a private conversation, it's someplace for them to go. And we're back outside. Outside will be a little bit different. We're not doing anything really fancy for an entrance, but we will put a canopy on it, so if we do have a function here in the evening, you can pull up, stay out of the weather, and still get inside the building.
Summer school, summer school, summer school. 2 weeks after we close, we begin summer school, and that will be June 12th. But I also want to tell you that we're going to be sending information home about band camps and choral. We call it a camp, but I don't really think it's a camp. It's just an opportunity for students to gather together, dance, string, all of those things. But keep in the back of your mind, June 12th, please. June 12th, summer school. But a huge date, August 21st. August 21st. 162 comes up, we open our doors, we welcome minimally 2,500 children, and we begin the school year 23-24. So I have a lot to look forward to. We're on the verge of breaking for what we call just our little bit of time away before we come back. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at so many wonderful things. Our Honor Society inductions, our Governor State facility will be filled with the sounds of music as we bring all of our bands together. I think that's going to be just a fascinating experience to see where have they evolved, where are they now. I really don't think we were successful on Google Classroom and teaching band as we would hope to be. But now, since we've been back in person, I'm looking forward to hearing all of that music. But perhaps one of the things now that I've had a chance to experience this after 3 years, our parent universities, and we call it that, that's just the name of it. But really, it's just an opportunity for us to learn together. Perhaps that is something that we need to do more of, and we are, because this summer we're going to be looking at transitions. The largest transition that is made is from the self-contained classroom to the middle school. And so during the summer, we're going to be looking at time management, organization skills. We're going to be helping our now sixth graders, soon to be seventh graders, to make this huge change. Because once you change into the middle school rotation, very soon after that, 2 years later, is high school. And we know that high school is a mindset. High school is an organizational change. High school, I think, is very exciting, but it is much closer to what you would experience in the world of college and certainly in the world of work. So this summer, we will learn together. This summer, we'll have an opportunity for our children to either refresh and engage and enjoy something called S.T.R.E.A.M. There will also be an opportunity for those that need a more structured environment, and we're calling it mandatory summer school. But we're going to learn together. We're going to continue to communicate as we have. But we're really working towards August 21st. That's what we're doing, working towards our reopening. And so, as usual, I thank you. It is my privilege every day to be your superintendent. But I will continue to communicate. But today is Institute Day, and we're going to be looking at our academic foundation, where we go from here, building always, and looking up for that rainbow in the sky. No matter how long I'm in this business, no matter how many children classes I see come and go, I still believe in the rainbow in the sky. Thank you so much for your time.